Mox Championship.
That's right. The way that the pairings work, it isn't like a normal event where you always play somebody with the same record as you over and over. Since there's only 16 players, you will tend to do that, but you'll often end up playing down. Also, there was a limited round, which broke people into pods. So things get kind of mixed up, and the players tend to group in the middle of the pack, and these are actually the top half of that.
Yes.
So these players are very much live to make the top 4 and try to have that life-changing victory that gets you gold, gets you $25,000, and gets you a seat in the World Championship. And we're going to get a chance to see which one of them keeps that dream alive and probably which one of them's out. I'm assuming that this is going to be an elimination match for top 4.
Make it or break it. Now, they both kept their 7, but both of their hands were really slow.
Really slow.
Antonio didn't have the second green source until he had scryed, so he wasn't even able to cast the Courser with his opening hand.
And Olerade, his first turn is going to be a Pelukrinos, or his first play is going to be a Pelukrinos, which is quite nice.
Marshall, I want you to take note of something that Antonio has right here.
A Siege Rhino?
But do you see how many?
I mean, I just saw one, but he's got a full crash of Siege Rhinos at his disposal. 3, 6, 9, 12. How do you feel about starting at 8 life, Olerade? This is going to be... He's going to play 4 Siege Rhinos in a row.
I feel like we're, on Sesame Street with the count. 1, 2, 3, Siege Rhino. 3, 6, 9.
And it goes all the way to 4. This...
He's a Den Protector, too.
This is not reality. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be looking at that upper left-hand corner at Olerade. Now, he's a pretty stoic individual.
He is.
He's played a ton of Magic in his day. Nothing really shakes him. I want to see what happens when that 4th Siege Rhino goes on the stack. I mean, what are you going to do against that?
Well, we saw him in the modern rounds against the podless pod deck, remember?
I did.
Yeah. Sometimes gets a little bit frustrated here. He's actually attacking with the Pelukrinos.
And he gets in with it.
Nice.
Antonio would much rather prefer to start beating down here, as he knows that his life total is going to be sufficiently bolstered thanks to the Siege Rhinos. He's also got an Obzon Charm on top, and I think he's going to offer the trade here.
He does have that Bile Blight too, which he can use on the Wispo if it blocks the Courser.
That's right. And again, Antonio can get aggressive here. He knows that his life total is going to be bolstered up, and in case of a race situation, another Siege Rhino really helps with that. And now Olerade has to try to figure out what the heck is he doing. You can see Ole looks a little bit puzzled, like, what is this attack representing? There can be a lot of different things. Is he going to call and make him use his mana, or is he just going to take 6?
Looks like he's just taking the damage here.
Yeah, he just decided to take it.
Little does he know.
And now Ole does coverage. He knows that Siege Rhinos travel in packs. I don't think he knows how big this particular pack of Siege Rhinos is.
Judge, can we get a deck check?
No kidding. Look at this. All right, and Ole finds himself at 8 already.
Now, leaving the Whisperwood alive is really nice. He does have that Nykthos. If he lands in a Tarka, Antonio doesn't have a hard answer to that right now.
No, he doesn't, and it gets to gobble up a Siege Rhino when it comes into play, and then it can eat another one as well. So here we go. Dragon Lord Atarka. All right. It's a dragon versus a pack of rhinos, and one of them down. And this is going to clear the way for a great attack. That's 11.
This leaves Ole a little bit susceptible. Like, if Antonio draws even just a Hero's Downfall, things could get really sketchy here.
He would be taking 6 if he drew a Downfall. He knows he's going to draw. You mean if he had a Downfall is what we should say, because he knows what he's drawing, which is an Obzon.
Oh, correct. Right.
But if he had a Downfall, I mean, he's got unknown cards in his hand for sure.
I think he only makes that attack there because he knows he's going to get that extra manifest off of the Whisperwood. I want to see that Shaman of Forgotten Ways. He has enough mana to activate the Formidable.
Oh, yeah.
Just Biorhythm?
I don't know how good that is here. He might be better off just with the attacks, but...
I like how somebody mentioned that Siege Rhino is just Lightning Helix on a stick. It's a pretty good way to describe it.
It's a very big stick, though.
It's a log.
It's more like Lightning Helix on a large baseball bat with a spike on it.
Well, he did draw Abzan Charm, right? Or he had that in his hand.
He drew it.
That deals with the Tarka nicely.
Ole knew that.
Yeah.
He knew that was coming.
He still went for it, though.
Yeah, I mean, this should just be game, right? Like, Well, it depends. Does Ole have a way to either close out the game on his turn or gain life? Because the way I look at it is like Abzan Charm can take out Dragon Lord Atarka, and then Ole can attack. Excuse me, not Ole. Antonio can then attack with both of his creatures or one of his creatures. 4, 9, 10, 11. He'll have to leave something back, so he probably just attacks with Siege Rhino. If Ole takes it and cannot kill Antonio next turn, then Siege Rhino will finish him off.
Yeah, we might be seeing a face-up Den Protector if that's the case. Abzan Charm plus face-up Den.
For the chumps?
For the chumps.
Yeah, totally. To get in the way of the Whisperwood, that's a big deal.
Of course.
Now, does he have to take damage to cast any of these? Green. Yes, it actually puts him down to 11, which could change the math. I bet you that's what Antonio's thinking about right now. He's also got a Crux of Fate sitting on top of his library, though that doesn't look quite as good with the Whisperwood on the other side.
And that's something that Ole can do too. Sack the Whisperwood just in case. You have to remember, the Polychronos is still active.
Totally, right? That's another thing.
Yeah, with Nykthos, that's a lot of potential damage, and
yeah, and that's what we were talking about before. Is that Antonio has this line, but if Ole can untap and kill him, it makes the line moot, and Ole might actually have that thanks to the Polychronos and the Nykthos. He can make enough mana to clear something away while growing the Polychronos. That could be enough too. Super tough spot here for Antonio. He's deep in the tank, both hands on his forehead there, running the numbers, and he has to make a critical... I mean, this is just the most important turn of the game so far. Ole Rada cools a cucumber up there on the top.
Yeah, if Ole hits a land, he can activate Polychronos for 4, it looks like. Nykthos for 5, and then has... Sorry. Oh, no, he can already do it for 4, can't he?
1.
Yeah. Or am I miscounting? No, he needs that land. Yeah, he needs that land, and then he can activate it for 4, potentially taking care of a Courser if it's still on defense.
Antonio's still trying to figure it out. You notice he's been in this turn for at least a couple of minutes now, and it's a super important turn for him because he's got other options as well, and he's going to combat. Let's see what he does. He's made his decision, whatever it is. He knows he has the tools in his hand to win this game, but he's facing a huge board state here.
He's a little bit pinched on mana, too. He's only been able to resolve 2 of his Siege Rhinos. And with this much pressure on the opposing side of the board, he just can't cast it without dying. Have you ever tried to charm an Atarka?
Charm an Atarka?
Yeah, she gets very angry.
What happens?
She's just hard to charm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I've never tried that.
You are very charming, though, Marshall. That's where I was going with this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just making sure you knew.
All right, so here comes Siege Rhino. So the obvious block is with Dragon Lord Atarka here. But there's some information that's known to Ole Rade. Specifically, he knows about Abzan Charm. He could force that issue here. He could chump block. I mean, soak up a couple of damage. There's quite a going on. Now, he does need the block.
He doesn't know that, though.
That's right. If he lets it through, then Siege Rhino on its own is lethal. Correct. And so he's going to make the obvious block here. And that's going to force Antonio to use up some mana and mean that he can't kill him with a third Siege Rhino hitting the battlefield here. There's one in the graveyard.
Well, this is kind of weird because it's forcing the Abzan Charm. But I think he had to make this line. Again, if Ole opted not to block, then he just kills him with the Siege Rhino. But
that's right.
Now he's kind of forced to use the Abzan Charm, which makes it so the 4 trample damage is still going to go through, but he cannot finish him off this turn.
Yeah, and the question becomes then, can Ole finish off Antonio?
And it's going to be really close. If you just imagine if he draws his other Nykthos, or one of his he has four Nykthos in the deck. If he draws another Nykthos, he's going to be able to produce a bunch of mana.
Now, you're saying, though, that by your math, oh, look at this.
Well, it's going to be a little bit off now, too, because if Atarka dies, which we're assuming is going to happen, the Nykthos is going to produce 1 less mana.
And Ole looks like he's lined up another block with the Manifest to soak up 2 damage.
Yep.
So this has Ole only taking 2 for the turn, even after the charm.
I like this. And that just tells us that the Manifest isn't very important either.
Right. It's a land or something. It also tells us that Ole Rade values his life total quite highly at this juncture. So, fly away. Take 2, go to 5.
I have to imagine he's playing out the Den Protector.
Does seem to be the case. Antonio did have to take 1 damage, as we discussed earlier, off of that cave, so he's down to 11 here. The Den Protector can jump in front.
All right, he gets a forest.
Of Whisperwood.
But remember, Tarka got exiled from the charm, so now he does not have enough mana to kill off the Courser. What's the line here?
Well, he's got another copy of Whisperwood Elemental as well. He can also, let's see, if he attacks with everything, he would force chump blocks.
Yep.
Because Polukranos can Monstrous for 2, and that plus Whisperwood is lethal.
I think I like him attacking with at least 2 of his creatures this turn.
If he wants to force a chump, it would be with his 2 big creatures. He also can force the Courser to chump if he wants to Monstrous Polukranos pre-combat to kill the Den Protector and attack with both. But that would take up his whole entire turn here.
Well, no, if he just wants to kill the Den Protector?
Well, that doesn't force a chump if he only Monstrous for 1.
Sure.
It only gives him 10 power of attacks,
sure.
which means that Antonio doesn't have to block. If he does it for 2 to kill the Den Protector, then he makes Antonio chump block with the Courser, but he leaves him with a Rhino, which would leave him dead to another Rhino.
And you know what? I think the Sylvan Caryatid, the hexproof, might be relevant this game.
Because the Bile Blight can't kill it to take the blocker out of the way? Wow.
Well, I guess Siege Rhino only deals 4 damage.
And remember, he's got the Whisperwood as well. It won't die in this transaction, so he will have another manifest creature behind as well.
So it looks like he is going to do that play for X for 1.
Yeah, X equals 1. He can attack, and he's going to play the other Whisperwood. Wow, he had so much mana. Now he gets left behind with a Whisperwood and 2 manifests, and he can attack with everything and force a chump block here too. See, getting in with the manifest means that the chump block is now mandatory.
Why is it mandatory? Isn't it Polukranos 6/6 right now?
6, 10, 12, right?
Yeah, so he can block the manifest and keep his
Oh,
Courser.
sure, you're right. No, you're totally right. Okay, so he can eat a manifest here and go to 1, but he's going to be facing a Whisperwood and 2 manifests from the end.
He's willing to throw away his manifest to get in that extra damage.
That's right.
You got to be feeling pretty safe. Not only do you have 2 manifests and the Whisperwood, you can even sack the other Whisperwood in case Antonio has a way to deal with your untapped Whisperwood to get another additional manifest. He's got to be wondering what's in his hand, though. Like, he knows the Crux is on top.
Yes.
All right, he might be going to 1 here, it looks like.
Yeah, the Crux doesn't do much.
You can see him doing the math there.
You do that, I do this, that thing makes one of those. This has been a very complex game here for these players. We've seen some really long turns out of both of them. Yeah, it looks like he might be. Now, you mentioned it. I did the math wrong by 1. This is not a mandatory chump block.
No, it's not.
But he could save a lot more damage by making the block. All right, he's just going to eat the manifest. Whisperwood triggers 2 times. Manifest. But Ole's tapped out and looking to be in good position here. A Siege Rhino just on its own would put Ole to 2. And it would put Del Moral Leon up to 5. Thanks to this Courser trigger.
Of course, gaining 1 life here. See a Fleece Mane on the top of the library. So it looks like he's just going to play the Rhino out and pass.
And Ole says, yeah, that's pretty good.
Remember, Antonio just needs to live 1 more turn for his other Siege Rhino.
Yes. So this is going to put really crazy pressure on what those manifests are as well.
Yes.
Right? Like if one of them's something big, that could just be it. Because the minimum he gets through for here is 4, right?
Correct.
So if either of them is bigger than 2/2, he can just win.
Now he's not snap attacking, so
that's very good news for Antonio,
pretty telling.
Looks a little bit stressed out here. Though I will say that Ole is a pretty deliberate player. He still, the not attack is very good news for Antonio Del Moral Leon. Because Ole's hand doesn't look very good here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Shaman of Forgotten Ways, you have to tap to activate it, so...
And that's after casting it for 3 and having 11 mana up.
Correct.
And if Ole's going to do the attack dance here where he's deciding which ones to go, this looks like it's going to be good for Antonio Del Moral Leon. Oh, it's Rattleclaw Mystic
Yikes.
and Wooded Foothills are the manifests. So close.
He did hit a creature on one of those manifests.
And now Antonio can breathe a sigh of relief because he knows that all he needs to do is block here.
Well, now he just needs to
And
play
he
his
just
Rhino.
needs to do nothing. And the 4th Siege Rhino this game is finally going to finish off Rade, who put up a fantastic fight here. He can't be happy. He thinks he can win next turn by just being patient for 1 turn. And here it comes.
Like you
Siege
said before,
Rhino number 4.
Like you said before, when you start at 8 life.
And your opponent starts at 32.
And there's nothing that he can flip off one of the recent manifests. Does not look like it here.
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana available. Actually, he has more than that, but it was Pelucranos and another Rattleclaw. And that 4th Siege Rhino does it for game 1. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, that was intense.
Wow.
Super, super close. I mean, Rade had the win next turn. But that's how it goes so many times here in Standard. So to the sideboards they go. You see Rade on the left. He's got a sideboard plan already worked out. He knows exactly what he wants to bring in. And you can see him pretty quickly moving through those motions.
Den Protector, Ugin coming in.
Del Moral Leon also quite quick. He's got 2 groups of cards pulled over to the right there. And it looks like he's taking out a bunch. Looks like 6 cards coming out.
Wow. You can tell these guys prepared for this. They're pretty deliberate on what they're taking out and putting in.
Yeah, they've known what they were going to play for quite a while, and that gave them a long time to really practice and get their matchups down. And there aren't too many curveball decks in the field here where, where people are really coming up with anything crazy. Magic Online players tend to stay pretty close to the vest as far as stock lists go. We don't see people that play Magic Online coming here to brew that often. You can't take those into the daily events.
This is not the place to brew necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, you would have an advantage.
Assuming
theoretically.
Well, just no. Just no, Marshall.
All right, we're not brewing.
Yeah, I think Antonio is favored this matchup. It's just so much removal.
Don't you mean so many Siege Rhinos?
Yeah, I mean that certainly did its thing here, but
I mean they never play around the 4th Siege Rhino.
In my experience, they never play around the 2nd or the 3rd.
Maybe not the 3rd. Everybody knows the 2nd one's coming.
Nah.
The 1st one's just a reminder that there's another one on the way.
Antonio's still looking at his sideboard options, but here we go.
He has now submitted, and it is time for the 2nd game. We've got a very young Pro Tour champion and a much older Pro Tour champion. 1996 on your left versus 2015 on your right. And let's see if Ole Rade can keep his dream alive of making the top 4 here by equalizing and forcing a game 3 against Antonio.
The dream turned to Courser of Krufix.
Not too bad. He's got another one to follow up as well, and a pair of Dragonlord Atarkas in hand. And he even has found a forest on top of his library here as well, which is pretty nice. So the value train has left the station.
I think you got to feel pretty good having seen your opponent lead with 2 tap lands. And you don't expect Antonio to finish off like the Mystic this turn. Wow, he's drawn another Whisper.
So Whisperwood Element. Oh, and here is a Nykthos as well.
Wow, man, he might not want to shuffle his library now. Of course he does. Just wants to get out the Whisperwood, but
I guess he does need to really hit that right now. And he is still well on his way mana-wise. He's got another forest in hand, and hey, there's another temple on top of his library. But this could just be one of those super quick starts. Now, the Hero's Downfall, which was really obligatory, he needed that, is going to keep the Whisperwood Elemental at bay. But in the meantime, Antonio's life total is under duress here. He takes 4 damage from the pair of Coursers.
Yeah, remember, this is only turn 4.
Yes. And here's
the first.
The first. We know that there's going to be one on top of the library because that's how Siege Rhino works. And Ole gets to just keep hitting land drops as he's working his way through his library here, and even gaining some life just to make sure that those siege rhinos don't eat him up too quickly, though he's only facing down 1 at the moment. Here's another copy, and since his opponent's tapped out, that means we're going to end step, and he's getting it.
And he knows he's manifesting the force that was on top, so that was really nice to get rid of it. Although another one looks like underneath that one.
Yeah, that's right. So next turn, Dragon Lord Atarka, she will show up.
Assuming no Crux of Fate shenanigans.
Ooh, there's a Nykthos on top.
Hello.
How about we play that? Oh, here we go. A
Hello.
Genesis Hydra 2. So things really firing on all cylinders here for Rade as he gets to run out Dragon Lord Atarka, take down a Siege Rhino, clear the way for a massive attack. And even though Dragon Lord Atarka is just going to eat an Obzon Charm or a Hero's Downfall, the damage will be done.
Now,
and
Antonio
how much damage is this? 4, 8, 9, 11?
He can choose to put the counters on the Siege Runner to keep it alive with the charm, if he really wanted to.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's true. It's just that it leaves Dragon Lord Atarka behind, so that's not an option. And crunch. Attack with all button, engage.
So I think
drop to 5.
Antonio's play here is to like either charm or downfall the Atarka and then rip the
rip a Crux.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That's super awkward that Crux can't deal with all of them. Otherwise, he would just snap draw with the Abzan Charm, I think.
Yep. He's not getting out of this mess any other way.
No.
The problem is the Crux doesn't do much here anyway, though, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the Whisperwood is...
Yeah, Whisperwood Elemental does a pretty good number. So Ole Rade really kind of constricting down on this one here as he's got all of his bases covered, including his backup plan of Genesis Hydra and another Atarka in his hand.
Well, technically, he's going to go to 9 from this hit. If he draws Crux, he could still survive, right? A few turns
technically,
anyways.
He could have, but I don't think it's going to happen this time.
That's actually really good for him. He can now charm the Atarka.
Yeah, I mean, he had a Windswept Heath as well, but no, he's not coming back from this.
No, I don't think he is. He could, but we know the Genesis Hydra on top can just produce so much value.
And let's not forget about the other Dragon Lord Atarka.
Sure.
Courser of Crewfix triggers happening. 10 mana generated right there.
Well, he played another Nykthos after activating the first
that's
one.
what I mean. I mean, still, look at all that. This is ridiculous. 13, so he's activating this for 11?
That seems
and he
pretty
knows
good.
he can hit Nissa Worldwaker because that's what's on top of his library right now. He might even hit something better. How about Dragon Lord Atarka again? I guess that one's not quite as good because it means that his other one doesn't get to attack Hornet Queen. All right, he's just going to make a Nissa Worldwaker, which should be lethal here, I'm assuming. Block 8. Well, if that thing dies, maybe not. Dead. Block 2, 4, 6,
No,
7.
he's definitely going to put the other Atarka into play. He'll just keep the one that's already in play. Oh, he didn't. Why not?
Well, he wanted Nissa Worldwaker.
Oh, right, from the... Oh, sure.
Yep. Though it does look like this...
Did he click on the wrong one? No. I know sometimes you can click on the summoning sick land.
Yeah, that does happen, though. It is a little weird that it's not all the way in the red zone, right?
I actually don't know if it's attacking.
I don't know either. Feel like it's not.
Yeah, doesn't look like it was.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been lethal either way, but I don't think any of this is really relevant, to be honest, because Ole Rade has been ahead in this game from the very first turn, and he has not let up the pedal, and he wins that game, I have to say, pretty easily.
Yeah, the double Nykthos certainly just clinching it for him, but...
Yeah, also the Dragon Lord Atarka, the 2 courses of Crewfix, and
the turn 2
Worldwaker.
courser, not too shabby.
The 11-11 Genesis Hydra wasn't the worst play in his book either, so looks like players are...
sideboarding for on the draw versus the play here.
Yeah, so you'll see fewer changes here. It looks like Ole just changed out a card or two, and I don't think Antonio has actually changed out any yet.
Not yet, but he's pulled over all the more aggressive 4 Fleece Mane and double Anafenza. He might be thinking about putting those back in.
Going for a little counter punch here.
Yep. You can see him moving the drowns now that he's on the play. Is he really considering cutting the coursers?
That would be bold.
That would be very bold. And remember, these guys are fighting for 8 and 5, right? They're 7 and 5 right now. Yeah. So this game 3 is going to be the deciding one to who can continue on to top 4 potentially.
This is a very, very big game 3. I mean, we're thinking this is probably an elimination match. It doesn't guarantee you top 4 if you win it, but I think if you pick up a loss here, you are really on the rocks as far as making it to the top 4. Some, you know, kind of special things probably have to happen to make that work. Now, there's a lot of weird matchups here down the stretch, and it is certainly possible, but I think if you win, you're still alive here, and if you lose, you're probably not.
Looks like he did take out the coursers. Read the bones to Anafenza. The Fleecemane line are staying in the sideboard for now. Just bring in the clerics. Do it. No?
No, he's not doing that.
Okay. You never know.
He's taking out the drowns.
I like that on the play.
Still got 3 slots in the main to fill up here. Is it going to be the Fleecemanes?
I'm still a little bit interested in why he took out the coursers.
I mean, it looks like he just wants to be more assertive here.
All right. 3 lions coming in.
You can see his more aggressive creatures on the right side there, the 3 lions and the 2 Anafenzas. He gets to be on the play here. And
correct.
As you mentioned a second ago, Kenji, this does look like his I'm on the play package.
Yep.
He's going to kill the Read the Bones. And this is a much more aggressive look than we had before. But it looks like he's planning to curve Fleecemane Lion into Anafenza, into Siege Rhino, and see if he can just play the more aggressive role here. A deep breath from Antonio. Meanwhile, the calm demeanor of Ole Rade doesn't look too bothered about any of it here.
Don't see any lands. Yeah. For Ole. Taking a mulligan.
Yeah, I think he's got one more card that we just can't quite see. I think he's actually on 6 here, so there it is.
Radical Mystic. That's not a bad one.
That certainly matters here. That changes this draw significantly.
Though we see Antonio definitely just snapping after the Thoughtseize.
Right, so let's see what Antonio wants to take.
I like taking the Mystic.
Just slowing down the progression
Either
here.
that or Courser.
Yeah, the Courser seems like the most immediate
too.
threat, but if he doesn't take Mystic, then he's going to be facing down Polukranos on turn 3.
Actually, you know, Rattleclaw is probably not a good choice, is it? Your opponent has enough lands to cast the Courser already, and if you let the Courser stay alive for too long, even though you could downfall it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just takes either one of the threats.
Xenagos. Okay.
He takes Xenagos. You know, he can downfall whatever else is left. Also, if you look at Antonio's hand, he's got a Crux of Fate,
Yep.
and he kind of wants Ole to go like Rattleclaw into big threat, and then he can Crux those 2 things away.
But Antonio only has 3 lands.
Yeah, well, hey, he's got a plan.
Sure.
He's got an Obzon Charm, which I'm pretty sure he's going to fire off to draw some cards and keep the land drops flowing here, though he does have other options. And, in fact, interesting draw there from Ole.
Now, I really like Ole playing the Courser here, seeing if the top card is a land. And if not, you know, you can always Temple. Hornet Queen.
All right, so I'm assuming he's going to ship that one to the bottom just because he seems to be pretty far off on mana from that,
Most
right?
likely,
1, 2, 3,
yeah.
4.
He left it on top. He likes it.
Okay, so I think he's recognizing that this game's going to go for a while.
Yep.
And if Antonio, you know, is going to play a game plan where he's trying to wrap it around this Crux of Fate, then the card like Hornet Queen can be a really nice way to come back from that. And in the meantime, Ole's ahead.
Yep.
I mean, he just gets to sit here and just be ahead for a while. Now, this is a really interesting turn because that Nissa Worldwaker that he drew is huge.
It is. But
It's going to prompt the hero's downfall. No, he's not even going to play it. Never mind.
I was just going to go with the Polukranos. Now, this plays into the Crux real hard if Antonio's able to hit his 5th land here.
That's right. Now, Ole doesn't know about the Crux, but you know what? he's got a pretty nice backup plan if he can find his fifth land, because Nissa Worldwaker is a big pain there. One real interesting question about Antonio is if Ole goes for Polukranos here, does Antonio risk it and try to draw the untapped land for the Crux, or does he have to use Hero's Downfall to kill it? He's got 2 downfalls in his hand, remember.
And he's already at 10 life.
That's right. If Ole just passes a turn, then Antonio can use Dromoka's command if he wants.
Sure. This is a tough spot.
This is not easy.
Okay, he's just passing the turn here, it looks like. I like that. Are we seeing the command?
I believe we are, yeah.
Genesis Hydra. Not a good draw here.
No, that's going to have to come down quite a bit later, and especially if the Rattleclaw Mystic's gone. All right, so enchantment down. He did find the untapped land, by the way.
Now he's got to be like, ugh.
Yeah. And it looks like Genesis Hydra is the play here, though, for Rade.
I really like it, even just for 2.
For 3?
Oh, sorry, for 3, yeah.
He finds a Sylvan Carry added here.
Not a bad hit.
Yeah, that's good pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just put up a 2-turn clock. He is once again urging Antonio to do something.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything but Crux being played here.
Yeah, but man, this is getting pretty tight here because Antonio has found another land here, and that means that he's going to be able to set up Elspeth for the next turn.
But remember, Nissa produces trampling lands. And even though Antonio has the double Hero's Downfall, he's going to be a turn behind it.
Yes, and
if
he hits an untapped mana.
Yes, otherwise Polukranos just comes down and Elspeth laughs.
And Elspeth probably will follow up and just kill Polukranos, or
he
found it.
Yikes.
Now he's a turn behind it, kind of, right? Because he can't actually activate and attack with a 4/4 here.
But
this has been such
that
a
leaves
sweet
2
match.
threats that he has to deal with, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right, so there's Nissa Worldwaker. He can untap 3 forests. It doesn't really do much.
Close. That's not a good draw.
That's not what he wanted to see here.
Now he does have quad black. He can take out the land and Nissa, right?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes.
In fact, that's actually a really solid play.
That's really great. Yeah, having 2 Heroes Downfalls here is massive because it means that Ole's only reasonable play is a Polukranos follow-up, and that's just going to get Elspeth right out of here.
Easily, yeah.
Oh, this is a huge swing for Antonio. Oh, but he lets him untap with the mana.
Wow. I wonder if he just goes for a Genesis Hydra for 3 again.
You gotta figure like he wants to attack.
I know,
here.
he does so bad, but
a Genesis Hydra for 2 versus 3 is huge difference.
Very large.
I think he just attacks and is just going to have to play Polukranos here. It's a terrible spot for him.
I know, and he doesn't know about the Elspeth, certainly, but...
But Antonio's going to fire off the Hero's Downfall now.
Yeah. Again, Polukranos just going to eat Elspeth's spear.
Okay, and there's Polukranos.
The one saving grace is that Hornet Queen that he kept on top. If he's able to rip off some lands, the flying...
Yeah, that can get...
He does need to go like runners, but...
Yeah, he needs a lot of lands.
Because in that time, Elspeth will certainly start ticking up.
Assuming Elspeth is going to minus here just to kill Polukranos?
I can't imagine. No, I can't imagine anything else.
I could make tokens. He doesn't have enough to kill all of them with Polukranos. But it feels a little riskier than it needs to be. Okay, there's land number 1. And he gets to hit... he gets to Hydra for 3 here. And he finds a Rattleclaw Mystic.
That's not a bad hit. That is not a bad hit, Marshall.
No.
Oh!
Ugin, 3, 6. He's got 1 mana away from casting Ugin here. But this is one... Like, if he draws a forest here, he can just play the Hornet Queen.
Which is lethal.
And then that would put it back on... Wow, that would put
Antonio
it back
to
on
hit on untapped land.
Yes.
Oh, the Mystic!
It's sort of a mana source.
Now Antonio has multiple turns to hit that Ugin land. This is an interesting game. I wonder if you just triple block here as Antonio. I don't imagine anything else, right?
I think
Just
you
gotta
do.
triple block it, right?
Yeah, I think you just
Snap that off.
use your resources up here.
I mean, if your game plan's Ugin, the tokens are going to be exiled anyways.
Yeah, and it feels like getting this Elspeth all the way back up to 7 is a bit of a slog. Well, he's just going to chump block.
All right. I guess you can't assume that he's going to draw an untapped land.
And he didn't.
No, but it's still okay, though.
It's still okay because he gets to untap minus Ugin. Now, that does kill Ugin, though, right?
True, but he has a follow-up Elspeth.
So it'll kill Ugin, it'll kill Elspeth, it'll kill Hornet Queen and everything else, and then he gets to slam
Correct.
Elspeth. Oh, this has been such a great match.
All right, here comes the Queen.
All right, Hornet Queen hits the battlefield, and this, it looks like, is Olirade's last hope. And now he's going to triple block.
Sure, yeah.
And because he knows that those are going to be gone anyway, and another decent draw
Wow.
step here for Antonio. But it's not going to matter because the Big Daddy's going to come down.
The one Big Daddy.
Now, can he just leave the Hornet Queen itself alive here?
I think that's way too risky. But, I mean, you do only have to activate Ugin for 2 if
Yeah,
that's the case.
and then he can just plus Ugin next turn to
Yeah.
finish off the
Yeah.
Hornet Queen. It does leave him down to 3 life, so it gets a little sketchy, but you get to keep Ugin. It has to be worth it, right? I
Okay.
mean, Ugin and Elspeth, I mean.
Yeah. He's ripping blanks here.
Olirade, you can sense it. He feels it slipping away here.
He had a few turns to rip something, but
I know.
it just wasn't in the plan.
That was so close. If that elf would have been a forest, we would have had a real game here.
Oh, it would have just been over, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Still have a real game.
Well, I mean, I guess that's not true. Like, Antonio needed an untapped land to hit Ugin, but he could have also just drawn like a removal spell or whatever. But so he drops Antonio down to 3. There's a Thoughtseize, which looks like it's a little late to the party here.
That ain't no Siege Rhino.
And there we go. And he's in there for 3, so the tides are completely turned against Olirade. He finds himself woefully behind and cannot find anything. His life total is going to start plummeting here. As he passes a turn back, he's going to start taking 3 a turn from Ugin, plus 6 from the soldier tokens here. This is going to leave him down to 10. And dead next turn. I don't even know if he has any outs. Does Dragonlord of Tarka do it here? Certainly Nykthos Shrine to Nyx doesn't, and a tough, tough loss for Rade here, who's going to do the old tap concede. He's going to make a bunch of mana and kind of put the fear in his opponent, and then he's going to scoop them up.
Gives the smile.
He can't even play his second land, and Antonio Del Moral Leon wins his match and keeps his top 4 hopes alive. It looks like Olirade is going to have to settle for somewhere in the
middle of the
5th
pack.
through on range. Players are going to commiserate after a tough one. A well-fought match, super close, really interesting here for us. That was some great magic.
I wanted to see more.
Yeah,
more.
I did too. But it was really, really tough for these players because there's a lot on the line there, right? And you're sitting there, and we saw some of the early games where the players are just like this, and you could sense the tension that they had because we're down the stretch. So, man, why don't we head it down to the red zone and Brian David Marshall.
All right, guys, this is crunch time. Magnus Lanto comes in at 8-4. Alexa Teleroff comes in at 8-4. We think 9 wins is pretty much going to be what gets you into the top 4. So this is a huge matchup between these two guys, and the winner here, should feel at least somewhat comfortable that they're going to finish in the top 4. And we pick things up with Magnus Lanto playing an Elvish Mystic on turn 2 on the draw. Follows it up with a Morph. And Death Mist Raptor, the official mascot of the Magic Online Championship this year, comes down. Unmorph a Rattleclaw Mystic. 4 mana. Play a Courser Crucifix, hit a land. 2 mana. 3 mana, play a morph. So pretty big turn 3 there for Lanto. Courser again, so we got everybody's libraries revealed. Let's move these out of the way. Top of everybody's library, we know what's coming up. Unmorph Radiclaw Mystic. Make Polukranos. Play a Whisperwood Elemental. All on 1 turn. Still has 2 mana floating. Lets that just go. And no, he doesn't. He plays. Oh, that's a manifest from the Whisperwood. So there's an Atarka coming up. Here's Deathmiss Raptor, number 2. And another Whisperwood Elemental is coming up on the top of Lanto's library. He unmorphs his Sylvan Caryatid, makes a lot of mana here, plays Dragonlord Atarka, and just takes out the Courser. And then passes the turn. Tarov plays Whip of Erebos, but we're going to see a truly monstrous Polukranos.
I like one of these board states better than the other.
Yeah! Polukranos is about to, I think, go to 11.
This one goes to 11?
Yeah. Actually, probably 13 here. Oh, no, it goes to 11. And that's going to be the game. He's just going to swing with everything, as you see. And that is going to be it for Tarov. So, that's game 1. Magnus Lanto takes it. Let's take a look at game 2. And remember, this is really to lock up, all but lock up a berth. Weird things can still happen, but you feel like if you get to 9 wins, that you're going to be okay. So here we go. It's game 2 between Magnus Lanto and Alexa Tarov. Temple of Malady leads things off for Alexa. Thoughtseize takes a Sylvan Caryatid, plays another Scryland, and no big exciting plays here for Magnus. Just 2 forests. There's a Caryatid. There's a Courser of Krufix. You see Xenagos the Reveler's coming up. Let's get this over here. Oops, I don't know where it went. Oh, well, that died. So Ultimate Price took down the Courser. But here comes Whisperwood Elemental and his merry band of followers. We've seen board states where you're at 30th manifest. In this tournament. I don't think we're going to get that far this time. So, Xenagos. Den Protector grows back Ultimate Price. Ultimate Price takes down the Whisperwood. And things are starting to look pretty good for Alexa here. But there's a Genesis Hydra. Genesis Hydra has its option of Elvish Mystic, Courser of Krufix, or Genesis Hydra. I don't recommend picking the Genesis Hydra. He takes the Courser. There's another Courser on top. You see, this is where things start. We gotta start moving things around here. Let's move abilities over here. I'll keep going. Kenji, what do you think of this? Is this the kind of board state you enjoy?
No.
Really?
I want things to be clear. I want to burn their face. I better see an Atarka here soon. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so there's a morph.
Which side?
Doesn't matter.
Here comes a Xenagos on the other side of the table, so pretty...
Uh-oh, plussed. Making mana.
Oh, wow.
Lots of mana.
Lots of mana, as it turns out. Here comes Ugin the Spirit Dragon. 7 loyalty. He immediately shoots down the Den Protector. And sends in with Genesis Hydra. Seda Wayfinder's only too happy to join its friends in the graveyard. And passes the turn back. Let's see. So Xenagos makes 5 mana into Whisperwood Elemental. Activate Ugin.
Almost ready to ultimate there.
Yeah.
And Whisperwood's going to manifest Polychronos at the end of turn.
Yep.
With,
There you go.
nick those mana.
And it's going to draw a Den Protector next turn. All right, Teleroff. Teleroff keeps like tapping and untapping his mana. And plays a morph. Unmorphs Den Protector, that looked like. Plays another morph. So, let's just see where we are on... That's the 4th face down creature morphed this game. And then in comes Death Mist Raptor, and it eats a manifested land.
Oh
So
gosh, he's going
Magnus-
big.
Fire off that Ugin.
Oh, this is Polychronos, isn't it? Just wipe your board.
Well, he's got 22 mana.
25, 24. Ugin does some damage to a Den Protector. Den Protector's going to get something back. And now we're going to see a Polychronos. You see the mana ticking away. Polychronos goes up 11 this time, not to 11. And everybody attacks.
This is just nonsense.
Yeah, it's just like profligate amounts of mana.
This is like giving a 10-year-old $1,000 and just saying, go to the store. It's like infinite mana for everybody. Was that game?
I believe that is game there.
I would give it up too.
Yeah. So Magnus Lanto goes to 9-4. His opponent Teleroff falls to 8-5, and still could be live. We're going to pay close attention to what he does next round. But Magnus Lanto looks to be secured into the top 8. Still some wiggle room there. So let's send it back to the booth.
Thanks for that, BDM. So, yeah, Standard is a little crazy
You
right
get some
now.
exciting games.
There's no doubt about that. But we've actually got an interview lined up down in the feature match area right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric Froelich at the Magic Online Championships, and I'm joined by Magnus Lanto, who is apparently now locked for top 4. So congratulations, and the cliche, how does it feel?
It feels pretty great. I'm really happy about my choice in Standard, and just feels great for tomorrow.
Yeah, you've been kind of at the top of the standings, a little bit behind Jasper the entire tournament, but definitely just in that top rank. We talked to Ole earlier about your Standard choice. You guys, of course, worked together for this event. He said you decided to copy a deck kind of off Standard Super League. Paul Chion, I assume one of your Swedish friends?
Probably one of your friends, more than ours, but
that doesn't sound right. But the deck choice has been working out pretty well. You've gotten a lot of good matchups. You got to be feeling pretty good heading into the semifinals Standard again.
yeah, it feels great. Like, we expected everyone to be on green mid-range decks from going back to the Grand Prix now, and red-green Devotion is the best against those. I think our worst matchup is the green-white Devotion mirror, and we're still favored even there.
Yeah, that's got to be a good place to be. No bad matchups. If you're able to get into the finals, how do you feel about going to all of your constructed decks again?
I look forward to all of it, especially Vintage, where I 3-0'd, and yeah, just enjoy constructing right now.
Yeah, definitely just been tearing apart the constructed rounds. 1 round left to go. Still playing for the top seed potentially. So yeah, congratulations, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the booth here at the Magic Online Championship. So we're getting right down to it. We've got one more round of Swiss to bring you before we cut to the top 4. So let's head to the red zone, and BDM has a few more highlights from the last round before we set up our next one.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Red Zone. I'm Brian David Marshall. We've got a match here. Let's see what we're watching. This is between our tournament leader. No, I'm sorry. This is, give me a second here. Maxime Martin Here we go. And Jasper De Jong. And things are underway here. So there's a turn 3 Death Miss Raptor, a morph from Maxime Martin. There we see a Mastery of the Unseen on top of the library. Den Protectors doing their thing. Mastery of the Unseen. And Jasper gets in with Death Miss Raptor. And then he follows up with Whisperwood Elemental. So, I mean, these green decks have just been insane. And then Whisperwood Elemental with Mastery of the Unseen on the other side of the table for Maxime Martin. Guys, who do you like here?
The one with more permanence.
The one with more raptors.
I don't know. Master of the Unseen's a big one here.
Yeah, it's a raptor.
There's Dramoka's Command.
I just knew that was dying.
You knew that was dying. All right. Well, I'm with you then. You should have told me.
Death Miss Raptor's going to fight Whisperwood Elemental, and Mastery of the Unseen. It's going to have to. Maxime Martin's going to have to sacrifice an enchantment. Pretty big turn there, and we feel like that Death Miss Raptor might be coming back. Here's a Teamer Sabertooth. And a Mastery of the Unseen for Jasper De Jong as he starts his Whisperwood campaign. Oh, wait a minute. There's a Hornet Queen. How does Hornet Queen affect this whole mess?
More permanence.
Okay. Big mana here from Maxime Martin.
It's always fun when your opponent clicks through all their mana out of
Yeah,
their
that
It's gotta
could
be a
that
Hydra,
generally means it's going to be a Genesis Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
It does. This is a Genesis Hydra for 10. There you see 10 permanents.
Another
or
Hornet
10
Queen?
options.
A
Another
world of
Hornet
goodies.
Queen. That seems like it's going to be the choice.
Could be a Whisperwood.
Nope.
Oh, double Hornet Queen.
Double Hornet Queen and a 10 power Genesis Hydra. Hornet Queen number 1 comes in. Okay. Activate Master of the Unseen. Permanent is turned face up. So here comes a Death Miss Raptor. Make a ton of mana. So it's his turn. Here's Pelucranos. It's going to eat a whole bunch of those tokens. And then Teamer Sabertooth is activating its ability and returning Pelucranos. That doesn't seem to have worked. But, yes, okay. So, as you can see, this is another crazy, just green-white board. Let's, we're going to let you guys go back to the booth. I'll give you a quick update on how that played out. Jasper De Jong, 10-3, so he got that match. So back to you guys in the booth.
All right, thanks, BDM. Those board states get just completely absurd when neither can really control what the other person's doing, and then everybody else just gets to make a ton of mana. All right, we've got one more round of action here before we cut to our top 4 for the day, before we do a quick commercial break.